Yes, good morning again from Kampala. This is a Pan-African Friday, which comes to you every Friday at such a time. I normally appreciate your time being with us for the next 1 or 2 hours that we shall be looking at issues that are affecting or affect the African people, both at home and outside of Africa. As usual in the studio, I'm joined by Sister Takali, I'm joined by Ndugu Rugarama, and I'm also joined by Ndugu Irumba. And we'll be looking at a number of issues, but of course we have also been informed by the producers that along the way we'll be maybe having other live programs that will be coming in from Uganda AIDS Commission, but also who have been, for those who have been following issues on TV, the Manifesto Week that has been running across the week. So when any of those comes in, we will let you know and we'll give way for that production. Before then, we'll be continuing, and normally, as usual, we begin with our week. My name is James Mututa, and I'll be coordinating this program. We begin with the week, how it has been in the African context. And of course, a lot of things must have happened and are still happening that catch the eye of an African. For me, a few things that really have caught my attention. But before I bring in mine, I think I'll go straight to the individuals, the usual people who are here with us in the studio, who will be talking to you about how their week and what they have seen happen on this week. And for that matter, I'll begin. We used to say in the past, ladies first until things changed. And whatever changed, I don't know, you're not going to ask me, but I think things have changed. But now we'll still continue as the African spirit with ladies first. And I'll go with the Sister Rachel to take us how her week has been. And Sister Rachel, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. This week has had interesting developments, some of them a little far away from here, but the long and the short is that Africa has been seeking to reclaim its place on the international stage. Yeah. There's some drawbacks to this. One of them, of interest to me anyway, was the case of the opposition leader in Senegal, Ousmane Sonko.
Sonko, this guy who's always beaten.
Yes,
Sonko has suffered. It's like you know the other man of Zimbabwe who
Morgan Shangarai.
Yes, Shangarai, because every other beating is for Sonko.
So Sonko's followers took it upon themselves to actually form a protective cover for this man. They surrounded his home, trying to keep security forces from dragging him to court. They say the incumbent, Macky Sall, is trying to hit this man with legal problems so that he will not contest the upcoming election. But I was like, oh well, that doesn't cast us in a very positive light. But away from that, there was also a Pan-African summit in South Africa where President Ruto was lamenting something that is a common concern on this show, where he said, even when he has been asked to lead a group of leaders who are to intervene as Africans in the South African issue, he says he regrets that African leaders have not made a meaningful intervention because our peace efforts, our military plans are really financed by others. Those are not my words, the words of President Ruto. I think for me it brought to the fore the fact that many people are sent to the presidency on this continent with one group of expectations, and then they find that the blueprint belongs to someone else. But of course, Ndugu Mututa, for me, the most important Pan-African development must be the plan of a number of African leaders to actually go to Moscow and also Kyiv, attempting to bring these two men to a common place. I know they will not succeed in the short term, that I know, because there are powerful interests on either side. Russia is on record in recent months, even days, saying the situation is not right for negotiation. And
Yeah.
Kyiv is of a similar opinion.
Exactly.
I
So,
know they each want
I think
to have
we'll
a
have
massive...
we'll have a lot to talk on that later in the program.
So for me, that's been the high point concerning Pan-African developments this week.
Sure. So, Bwana Nduguru Garam.
Very quickly, good morning to you, comrades, and good morning, my fellow panelists.
Did you finally succeed to cross to the west?
That is one of the issues which I want to raise. That
Sure.
one of the things that have been making news and which also disappointed me was the incident at, you know, as you cross Rukaya,
The Katonga.
this Katonga thing, that we can have the bridge break and the road is washed away, and fixing it takes more than 2 weeks. I'm told that it's going to be fit for utilization in the next 2 weeks. Now, I don't know if that was the official statement from UNRWA.
For me, I think I would think even the 2 weeks are going to be fast, because otherwise we do it in haste and then we break it again.
Usually, actually, because you remember this is not the first time. Whenever we are gearing towards Christmas, or it is Christmas time,
Exactly.
that happens. Although the magnitude of the damage is not as it has been this time around. My last take on that is that I expected the engineering brigade of UPDF. You see, modern armies now, and UPDF has been doing it. I don't know why UNRWA or government cannot integrate itself, have different departments come together and do a job very quickly, because that is part of the social responsibility that our own UPDF, which is known to have combated, for instance, heist on Lake Victoria, is capable of combining with UNRWA officials and Ministry of Works to very quickly fix that problem. But anyway, that is a deep debate, but I'm disappointed that we can have even the alternative route also sinking in, because that road was also not fitted to accommodate that kind of level of weight. Honestly, like I said, that's a very huge debate if we intend to go into it at a later stage. Now, secondly, I wish to comment on what Sister Takari has commented on, and that is the arrest of the opposition leaders, generally speaking, on the African continent. I know it is worse elsewhere. I'm alive to the fact that what happens in Asia is no better than what happens in Africa. I know that. I even know it may not necessarily be direct politics. The level of arrests in America itself, people who were protesting, for instance, the invasion of Iraq, and their sons and daughters dying in a worthless war, the way they were put in those vans and where they ended, told a lot of story about the democracy and the so-called human rights in America. But nevertheless, my thinking is, when you look at our legal jurisprudence across the continent, that some of these people can even be summoned. And let me hear an argument that opposition leader X has been summoned to police and he has refused, or she has refused. But it doesn't happen that way.
Story, in the story of Sonko, in the last election, Sonko came third. Wasn't even the second, by the way.
Well, interestingly, in elections management, which is my pride, that is my area.
I know.
It doesn't matter whether I have become last, even if I got 5 votes, but did I participate in an exercise? And when something is going wrong, whether I was not the second runners up or whatever it is, I didn't, the percentage or margin percentage, you remember His Excellency, our own president here, he went to the bush. In the elections, he was number what? Even in his own home constituency, he was beaten by Sam Kutesa. So some of these things, when you look at it from a bigger picture, it happens that way. Anyway, the point I'm making final on that is that it is unfortunate that we have created a culture and cultivated it, generally speaking, on the African continent, that we cannot have a better way of dealing with opposition. We look at opposition, especially political opposition, as direct enemies. Probably, maybe, because of how they come and who sponsors them. But somehow, I think we have to go back to a drawing board and get better ways of dealing with internal friction. Finally, is what is happening to Trump in America. His lawyer, I think, is doing him a disservice. I don't want to go into the legalese, but I believe all of us have been watching, I don't think that Trump is having a very good sleep.
But if a Gulian,
his lawyer
if
is
the man like
spoiling
a
his
Gulian
case,
can
I
also
think.
have a sleepless nights, and these were people, some who I mean, was one of those guys they thought was one of the bright lawyers of in the.
But
in
I
the
know,
US.
Nduguru Garama, you cannot defend that man any
Trump.
better than he's being defended. Because he's
I'm
one of those
talking
people.
I'm talking about his lawyer saying that Trump actually knew what was in the books. You see, that is not helping matters. That is the only thing I'm looking at. I'm not even looking at the merits. You see, you have to give your best. One of my colleagues here, there is a lawyer here who was defending during the time of LC5 elections. He was defending a client from Wiganga in High Court, and he reached the extent of fighting in the courtroom itself.
With the client.
His court was torn. Then when he came outside, he was asked by the camera people. He said, you see, when things refuse in court, you must be very dramatic in order for your client to see that you are doing something for him. And indeed, he ended up getting something for his client. So some of these things, your lawyer must do everything humanly possible.
But you know, if you are kind of a lawyer who is very sober, and you are dealing with the personality of a client like Trump, sometimes you may also expect some of what is happening, because he's a kind of client that you can advise and maybe takes advice. Maybe that's why he also at one point got fed up, said, after all, he also knew, and like giving him up. But I'm not talking on that one. It brings me to the legal issues. Now, I was thinking about something. This man, Sambela, the driver of judiciary, comes out. And it's one of the things that, for me, I liked in that week. For people who are watching us from elsewhere, a driver who comes up to complain that why should he get 200,000 when the bosses are earning maybe 100 times that much. So, and the latest I heard was that he was arrested, and maybe he recorded a statement.
He was summoned, I think.
No, he was detained. He was detained for arresting, for threatening.
Yeah. He was given bail yesterday.
So, and I'm looking at it, and I said I was going to ask specifically Nduguru Garama on this one. What's the crime of this guy? Of course, I believe as a civil servant, that is not right, because there must be mechanisms within.
No, he was caught on tape threatening.
Yes.
To do certain unpleasant things.
No, but I think this is what we talked about, really, in a nutshell. When you look at Sambela's case, certainly what he said is not allowed of a civil servant.
Yes, that's true.
But you see, and the manner in which he said it and the way he published that information. But you see, I have been discussing with my colleagues on different platforms, and the consensus really has been that let's look at what Sambela aired out. And the summation of the entire thing is that let's have salary harmonization.
Yeah, in other words, people are saying, and I also believe, that the problem is to do with the forum where he said it.
No, if he had not said it that way, it would not have attracted the kind of attention it has attracted. Sometimes you must get out of your way. You know,
like the other lawyer.
Like the other lawyer did.
Exactly.
Like Trump's lawyer.
Trump's lawyer, I think, has just missed it. you don't get down in
but also that also brings up another point, that there is no internal democracy. Talk about democracy. That there is no internal democracy and a mechanism where people can raise some of these issues. Because, and truly saying, if you look at the discrepancy in the earnings, and you can understand.
Exactly. Salary harmonization. Let that commission be established, and it works as soon as yesterday on that issue. It's a very serious concern.
Otherwise, we expect more.
You have arrested and given bail to Sambela. Probably you are going to prosecute him, dismiss him from the judiciary. But at the end of the day, how many Sambelas do we have in this country?
Who are not saying anything.
You see?
Maybe building from exactly that. You see, there are many ways of killing a rat. you may accuse Sambela for using the platform that he used. You have not asked Sambela for how long he has been with that problem. When these people were advocating for salary increment, where the Sambela's thought about, because these people have been increased, their salaries have been increasing, where the Sambela has thought about. Have you asked Sambela whether he has used those very channels you are thinking he should have used it? Have we interrogated him to find out whether he has been using them and they have not worked, but this one has worked? So what you call illegal is actually what he needed to do. You get it? So the point should not be how he aired his grievance. The issue is, does he have a grievance? And is he alone? Is he one person complaining?
His grievances well shared across the board.
So
I brought in this issue because this is leading us to a bigger debate.
Yeah. So for me, I don't want anybody to blame Sambela. That Sambela, if he had not spoken, maybe that would be another subject.
Oh,
Sure.
In fact, he threatened such a thing.
Yes. Because if someone does not have a platform to speak, what do you think is going to, he will burst. But before he bursts, do you think he will burst alone? He's a driver. That car can lead to Lake Victoria.
Now, there was the other question. Unfortunately, we are discussing this issue here, but there was some question. Is that also a vote of no confidence to the judiciary system?
Obviously. Because you are the vanguard of as a judiciary, you are the vanguard of justice. Yes. Really, when you have a platform, Comrade Lugarama, you are the one who can reach the parliament, you are the one who can reach the president to negotiate for you. Why don't you also negotiate on behalf of your subordinates? When you're going to advocate for salary increment, why do you want it to end at that level? These people cannot reach parliament where they go and bargain. These people cannot reach the president where the president speaks and they put in action. So you should be their voice. Now that you have only spoken for yourself, allow these people to speak for themselves this time round. Sambela has spoken for hundreds of drivers for these civil servants. You get it?
And those who fall in that category.
Yes. So punishing him, I saw the PS, PS Gilman, saying this is not the way we do our things. Okay, you have been doing your things that way. How have they helped Sambela? You have your system. Word, yes. How has it helped the Sambelas? Because there are parameters. You should have done this. You should have. Yes. Those who have been doing it, how have it helped?
Maybe they have provided the internal mechanisms of
for me,
some of these
for
issues.
me, that is my take. Now, on the bigger context of Africa, I want to say I'm a little bit getting very disturbed with the hooliganism of Julius Malema. I don't know whether you have followed that of recent, Malema in Parliament.
He's been doing that.
People, but now that is going to the extreme.
Like Trump's lawyer.
He's also behaving like a Sambela in a political way.
That's his own.
Yeah, but I can tell you, Malema was one of the people I used to look up to.
Me too, by the way. He has been
but
one of those.
recent, I think now his true picture is coming out. That is hooliganism.
It is increasingly becoming difficult.
Hooliganism, total hooliganism.
Sure.
To be looked at as a
now he even went ahead from
from
at least the civil decorum someone uses in parliament. He even went and started describing the speaker, the lady, telling her how
he has done that before.
You know,
including the president.
That's what he was doing to Zuma.
Yeah, but something must be done, because if you let Malema do that way, there are many people who are looking up to him and they will think that is the way.
Yeah.
He must be, you know, it can't. You cannot promote hooliganism and confuse it as Pan-African. And now that's what is failing me. Because now we are giving him a description of a Pan-Africanist, and when he's speaking, he actually fuses this Pan-Africanism with hooliganism.
Sure.
For me, that is, he's becoming a nuisance to me. Maybe
I think, along those very same lines, whenever someone loses the plot, and I think this is a man, just like Ndugu Garama has been laboring to let us know, that this is a man who's now expressing himself in a, it's as if his cause is lost. You know, whenever you have nothing to lose, these are the kinds of actions. I think this is a man who is demonstrating that he cannot be accommodated in a world of intellectuals, in a world of glorious ideas.
And reason.
He's unable to accommodate reason and intellect. So he's falling back to
where he blooms.
Barbaric tendencies.
Where he blooms.
True. And so, as you said, it's a prime opportunity to actually condemn this sort of behavior. Being Pan-African is not backwardness. It is not barbarism. It's not hooliganism. This man is defective in his own way, and he should be seen as that, defective.
Yeah.
No, my small take here, Comrade Mututa and our dear viewers. Personally, I know Mariam is my friend. And
oh dear.
we have shared.
I hope you don't copy that.
Yeah,
oh
absolutely,
dear.
Absolutely.
That's
why I'm disappointed. I'm hurt, really. I have shared with him twice about the way he conducts his things, business.
Sure.
And I think the last time in Harare, he was like, you see, comrade, our environment and how we have been characterized
by who?
Through apartheid is very different.
So he's the only one who has grown up in.
So there is no decent person in South Africa.
Just a minute. Has hardened us and made us to to behave in certain ways. Later, when I came, there was an ambassador. You remember our general, General Professor Ambassador here in South Africa.
Yeah.
A very good Pan-Africanist, a friend of ours. I engaged him about that, and I remember he listened. Majority of the time we were talking, he just listened. And then he was like, Comrade Rugarama, that young man worries me. I hope you will take time to study him and know whether he's himself or there is something behind it. I want to stop it there.
Yeah, but I think the problem is not that he behaves that way, but the bigger problem is that he is not able to be helped by the same group that is leading. And
let alone the influencing part.
Exactly.
No, they look at him as a demigod, if you have not realized, by the way.
Yeah, from the time we have had issues in Uganda now with this gun violence, it is now being known that there are people sometimes who are sick and they need help. And sometimes because we leave them because they are good at abusing other people until they abuse you, it's when you realize that someone is not in order. But I think there must be a way of especially when it comes to leadership. Now, this is actually one man who is coming up to be a very credible replacement of any of the presidents of South Africa. Now, imagine if God was unfair to people of South Africa and gave them as a leader, that one, then you can imagine what will happen. But like you are saying, he's not alone. There are many other people that he inspires in his way, the way he does.
Even beyond South Africa,
yes.
By the way. Beyond South Africa. You see, you look at the crowds he pulls when he goes to Zimbabwe. You can't believe. You see? But you see, the lack of consistency for our brother Malema is becoming a very worrying factor. Consistency. It is just recently, he was at our embassy. That we have
he was dancing, he wanted to remove his pants and
bill against LGBTQ plus. You see, can you imagine that?
No, he's in favor of that?
Yes.
You didn't follow?
He's a vanguard.
No, I refuse to follow him.
So, that's how you get to know
and
your
that was
enemy.
the point for me of the
It's the point of departure.
Departure.
Hey,
I refuse to follow him.
Then look at the way he, in a very derogatory manner. You see, I may disagree with you.
Sure.
It's okay, by the way,
normal.
to disagree. But when he disagrees with somebody, for heaven's sake, and like Comrade Rumba was here, worried, and I was reminding him, was like, some of us really who follow some of these things. And even after you pick a call and you say, but what were you doing really?
Exactly.
You know? And the guy says, he laughs very hard and he
as
says,
if it's funny.
It's okay. You see, you don't get the fountain of honor. You may disagree with the president. You have heard our general here, Mugisha Muntu. He certainly disagrees with the president of the Republic of
Even the message, by the way.
But you see the way
he
addresses him and he expresses his disagreement with respect. I disagree with you, but I don't have to insult you.
Yeah, sure.
You see, Now you don't get the whole fountain of the parliament, the Madam Speaker, and you describe her in the manner in which Marima does. You do not inspire from that point anybody into wanting to be what you are. And later on, you actually diminish the optimism of those who hoped that one day you are going to be the president.
Yeah, those who are looking
and also those who say that, look, that is what Africa can offer. We've told you these people cannot do anything productive. We've been saying these people are incapable of decent discourse and high ideas. This man is giving them the fire that they've been looking for, saying, look, that is the future of Africa. We've told you all along.
It even now gives the white community who wanted to have their own country to say, you see, these are not people we can relate with.
We can't deal with this one.
Yes, we need to be alone. So it gives
that
them
aside,
discourse.
I think, Ndugu Mututa, that aside, this individual, Mr. Malema, he cannot claim to be more fervent or more for the African cause than many of the giants of yesteryear.
Sure.
They were not known to insult, demean, ridicule, and overturn
a whole lot of
good values. You can't say Nasser was on record, or you can't say Mondlane was on record. Or these are people who are decent and wholesome.
Martin Luther.
No,
and their approach.
Remain in South Africa. Remain in South Africa and look at the icons of the apartheid.
Mandela.
The fight against apartheid.
Yes,
look at
there are many.
Look at the Buterezis. Look at Thabo Mbeki. You know,
there's no need to be ugly and really unpalatable. There's no contradiction between decency and wholesome good values and Africanness.
Respect that office. You may not respect the person. You can disagree with the person. You can, in private, you can abuse yourselves. But at least when it comes to public, let's have that decency. And that's what something I'm disappointed in that friend of mine, because he has a lot of things, good things about Africa. But I think he's using that.
Oh
in
yeah,
a very
and you are right.
long,
by the way, oh, despite all that we have said, he is well intentioned for Africa. But the way he's passing on the message is very unfortunate.
Yeah, we will be, I think, I see this guy's flashing something coming our way, I think from the AIDS Information, AIDS Commission. When it happens, finally we'll let you know, but I think they're just starting, I can see, to assemble. So today we were looking at something which is happening on the African continent. 6 countries of Africa are planning to go to Kiev and Moscow to do what? Peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Now, I have been following issues in the media, of course, and a lot of correspondence on that. And these countries are saying that they need to also to take part in these peace negotiations to stop the fighting in Ukraine and bring the two sides to the negotiating table. We have South Africa, we have Egypt, we have Senegal and DRC, Zambia. Uganda is inclusive, and
Republic of Congo.
And Zambia, yes.
Now, so Congo also...
Republic, I believe.
Yeah, the Republic of Congo. So before we leave the set for these other functions that are coming up, do we see this happening?
I think I'll be fast.
Yes.
It will not happen in the short term. These people will come to the mediation table when they're ready, not one day before. No one negotiates with an unwilling partner. Russia is very clear. It has said, not very long ago, it said, look, the situation is not favorable for that kind of engagement.
Even when Turkey was trying, yes.
And China even has tried.
Exactly.
Ukraine is also saying that no, for them, they know when the parameters will have been reached in their view. So both parties have not reached that place. And I suspect that for Kyiv, it wants to retake a certain amount of territory to have a reasonable negotiating stance. Russia also wants to deliver the same blow. So none of them have begun to meet their military expectations. So that, I'm afraid, Mr. Mututa, it does not make for headway for these African leaders.
So you think they're also just wasting their time or just moving for the...
For now, they're wasting time.
But, okay, let's have a program on that, then you can...
I will be quick on this, really. It is very unfortunate that the NATO has turned Ukraine into a field that it may take some good time for Ukraine to recover from what she is experiencing. It is unfortunate also that in one way or another Russia was drawn into this because she had also to protect her back. Certainly, what was happening in Ukraine and what was bound to increase to happen was not in favor of a superpower. It doesn't matter what you want to call Russia. The truth of the matter is that it possesses well above the nuclear arsenal that the entire Europe has.
I know that.
And we know for a fact that there is no way America or any other person for that matter, even if the person in the White House was President Trump, would dare have a direct confrontation with Russia. That would be a nuclear winter, as prophesied by Air Commandant, the late Fidel Castro. What I want to conclude with, however, on this particular issue is that the concept of mediation is that the mediator must be mutually agreed to by both parties. Now, if Ukraine and Russia have agreed that the presidents of Senegal, Zambia, Uganda, South Africa, and DRC congregate and mediate them, I have got no problem with it. But to agree again with Rachel, I don't see that the exercise achieving results in the short term. Reason being that this war does not belong to Ukraine, and I don't see the interested parties on behalf of Ukraine being part of these negotiations. It is also against the heels that the ambassador of America has accused the president of South Africa that he is supporting, he has seen loads of armaments being shipped from South Africa to Russia. I do not want to agree that that is the
But I think he's not accusing him for nothing.
No, what I'm saying, we know that in BRICS, these two are permanent members. We know that they have been carrying out military exercises. It is also, Russia is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, by the way, arms seller in the world. How would the armaments be coming from little South Africa to Russia?
Maybe from China. But anyway, we'll come back. I think after this program, I see people are flashing from, I think, the AIDS Information Center, and let's go there to follow up the program there. We'll be back later. If not, then we'll be back on Friday to have this discussion deliberated on, because you can't finish it now. Thank you so much for those who have been following us, and please, you can continue following us on the other number that we gave on our WhatsApp. We shall share a lot. Thank you for now. Let's go to the AIDS. Is that AIDS Information Center? I think.
Office of the President.
Okay.
To serve them. The demand side of our politics is a bit low, because basically on a typical day when citizens come to meet an MP, or when they go to meet the president, or even when they meet the PS,